Welcome. The devil doesn't fear who you pretend to be. He trembles at who you actually are. Stop playing dumb. Let that sink in. Because today, we're pulling the curtains all the way back. They can't admit it aloud. They underestimated you. Not because you were quiet, not because you were kind, but because you let them think they were winning. Now, they're pacing, deleting messages, scrubbing tracks, wondering, how the hell did the chosen one know everything before it even happened? Here's a fun fact. Psychologists say intuitive people detect deception faster than trained professionals. But you, chosen one, you didn't need a behavioral science degree. You were reading spirits like subtitles in a movie they thought you didn't understand. Let's be honest, you played the fool so well, they gave you front row seats to their own downfall. Now they see you as the villain, simply because you never blinked when their masks fell. And the best part? They still don't know how much you know. They only saw the tip of your awareness, and that alone sent shockwaves through their ego. So buckle up. In this video, we're breaking down why your accuracy wasn't luck. It was divine intelligence. Why your silence wasn't confusion. It was cosmic strategy. And why, after all their manipulation, lies, and spiritual gymnastics, they're the ones losing sleep because you knew the whole damn time. And no, we're not whispering today. We're pulling receipts, peeling layers, and throwing a little holy shade. Let's get into it. 1. You didn't read them. You remembered them. You didn't need to analyze them, obsessing over what they said or did. Deep down, you already knew the truth. You weren't figuring them out. You were remembering them. Something about their energy, tone, eyes, and calculated movements triggered an ancient alert in your spirit. It wasn't new. It was familiar. Like your soul had seen these patterns before. Different body, different time, maybe even a different lifetime. What shocked them wasn't just that you caught on. It's that you knew too much without needing proof. And the part that truly messes with their heads, you never needed them to confess, no one to warn you. You didn't go through their phone, didn't eavesdrop, didn't investigate. You just felt it. Your spirit received the download long before their mask even cracked. That's what makes your accuracy unsettling to them. It feels unnatural, psychic. But to you, it's just how your gift works. Quietly, sharply, deeply. What they tried to keep buried, your energy pulled to the surface without even trying. They thought you were oblivious, mistook your silence for naivety, your grace for weakness. Now they realize they were walking around spiritually naked the whole time. You saw it all, the envy, the lies, the disrespect behind the fake kindness. You read them like an old story you'd already finished. And you didn't say anything. That's what truly gets under their skin. You didn't expose them right away. You just watched, letting them perform, letting them feel safe. Meanwhile, your soul was documenting everything. Not for revenge, but for clarity. You didn't need to scream the truth. You became it. 2. Their masks didn't slip. You saw through them from day one. They think their mask slipped. And that's how you found out. They're convinced they made one wrong move, told one wrong lie, and that's what gave them away. But the truth is, you saw through them from the very beginning. Not halfway through, not after the damage. Day one. You never fell for the act. You just chose not to expose it immediately. And that decision, that quiet, calculated choice to let them believe they had you fooled, that's what's haunting them now. Because they had no clue that while they were performing, you were already awake. You weren't emotionally hooked, weren't hoping they'd be different. You were watching, observing, picking up every detail like a code breaker. They didn't realize they were being studied by someone not looking with human eyes. You were locked in with spiritual sight. That kind of vision isn't taught. It's embedded, built into chosen ones like a second skin. 3. You let them lie because you wanted to see how far they'd go. You weren't desperate for the truth. You already knew it. You just wanted to see how deep their lies would go, how far they were willing to drag the act. That's what they never expected. They thought you were waiting for answers, confused, stuck in your head trying to piece things together. But you were actually watching them build their own trap, slowly, confidently, and with a fake smile on their face. You gave them room, not because you were clueless, but because you were calculating. You needed to know just how far they'd betray you while pretending to care. That's what's rattling them now. You didn't confront them with tears or anger. You didn't beg for honesty. You let them lie again and again. You listened to their explanations, knowing they were fabrications. You nodded your head, gave a blank stare, and mentally recorded everything. You were calm, but underneath that calm was a razor-sharp awareness. They mistook your silence for acceptance, but you were studying, analyzing, testing how bold they'd become in the face of your stillness. 4. Your accuracy is scary because you pulled truth from the unseen. You weren't connecting dots. You were the dot they never saw coming. You didn't overhear anything. No one warned you. Nobody slipped up. And yet, when you opened your mouth, the truth came out with precision they can't explain. That's what has them shaking. Not just that you exposed them, but that you did it with zero access to their conversations, secrets, or schemes. You didn't need evidence in the physical. You pulled it straight from the unseen. They don't understand that you weren't guessing. You were picking up energy like signals from a hidden radio station. While they were busy crafting lies, creating illusions, and pulling strings behind closed doors, you were silently tapping into something they don't believe in, your divine connection. And that connection, it doesn't miss. It doesn't stutter. It doesn't need help. You could walk into a room, feel the shift in energy, and instantly know who was for you and who was faking it. That's not a skill, that's a gift. 5. You're not a threat because you exposed them. You're a threat because you did it without effort. You never raised your voice. You never went on a smear campaign. You didn't throw dirt. You didn't beg for validation. And you didn't try to convince anyone of what was really going on. You simply saw what needed to be seen and let the truth speak for itself. That's what makes you dangerous. Not because you were loud, but because you were unbothered. You dismantled the illusion they were hiding behind, not with fury, but with clarity. And they weren't ready for that. They thought power looked like control. They thought it came from manipulation, alliances, secrets, and fear. But you walked in with calm awareness and ruined their whole operation without even trying. You didn't break them with aggression. You broke the illusion of who they pretended to be. And that's worse, because now they have to live with the fact that you didn't need revenge to win. You didn't even lift a hand. All it took was your truth, spoken once, or even left unsaid, and their whole house of cards started collapsing. 6. They realized too late that you were conducting a spiritual autopsy. They thought they were getting away with it. The fake love, the little underhanded digs, the hidden jealousy behind compliments. They believed it was all sliding under your radar. But the entire time, you were collecting data. Not for drama, not for revenge. You were conducting a spiritual autopsy, pulling apart every motive, every word, every look. You weren't confused. You were precise. While they were busy performing, you were pulling receipts in silence. Emotional, spiritual, energetic. They thought you were passive, but you were documenting the death of loyalty in real time. What makes it worse is that you didn't react when they expected you to. You didn't blow up. You didn't break down. You didn't flinch. You just observed. That silence, it wasn't ignorance, it was observation. Every move they made confirmed what your spirit already knew. You saw the rot behind the smile. You heard the venom in the joke. You recognized the sabotage dressed up as support, and you kept your cool, all while their behavior kept stacking up like evidence in a sealed folder. 7. You didn't predict the pattern. You were the variable they couldn't calculate. They were used to running the show. Same moves, same mind games, same reactions. They had people down to a formula. Push this button, get this response. Stir some jealousy, control the narrative, Create chaos, play the victim. It worked every time. Until you didn't react the way they expected. You didn't chase clarity. You didn't fight for their attention. And you didn't crumble under their silence. You weren't triggered by the bait. You just stood there, grounded and unreadable. And that's what rattled them to their core. They thought they had the pattern perfected, but you were the variable that broke the code, the wild card they couldn't anticipate. You weren't afraid to walk away mid-sentence. You weren't hooked by flattery, guilt trips, or their fake emotional breakdowns. You didn't fold under their passive aggression. You observed, processed, and moved accordingly. And that terrified them, because it meant you were operating from somewhere they had no access to. They tried every trick they had: confusion, projection, guilt, even flattery when things got desperate. But none of it worked on you because you weren't reacting. You were discerning. You weren't caught in their cycle. You were watching it spin, and that made you unpredictable. 8. Your stillness wasn't confusion, it was calculation. While they were busy trying to bait you into reactions, pushing buttons to see you break, your calm wasn't a sign of confusion or weakness. That silence, that steady gaze wasn't empty. It was calculated. You were quietly observing, absorbing every subtle cue, every micro-expression, every hidden agenda. Your mind was working behind the scenes, piecing together their intentions like a master strategist analyzing a chessboard. They thought if they could rile you up, make you emotional, you'd lose control and with it, the upper hand. But instead, you held your ground. And in doing so, you gained something far more powerful: clarity. You weren't reacting. You were planning. You were calculating their moves 5 steps ahead, anticipating their tactics, and preparing your response in perfect timing. Now they're horrified because the truth sinks in too late. The game was over long before they even realized it started. They played their part, unknowingly stepping right into the trap you laid with your silence and stillness. Their efforts to destabilize you only fed your knowledge, and that knowledge became your power. Your quiet wasn't empty. It was a signal that you were always in control, always several moves ahead. And that's the kind of mastery that leaves them stunned, because you didn't just survive their tactics. You dismantled them, quietly, deliberately, and with an unshakable calm that spoke louder than any outburst ever could. 9. They're just now understanding that you were the mirror, not the enemy. They came into your life expecting to manipulate you like they've done to everyone else. Same tactics, same fake charm, same mind games. But what they didn't expect was to be seen fully, deeply, without effort. You weren't playing offense or defense. You were just standing there in your truth, and that alone made their masks crack. Because your presence didn't attack them, it reflected them. Every lie they told, every false persona they created, every ego-driven move they tried to use against you, it all bounced back in their face like a spiritual mirror they couldn't escape. They're just now realizing it wasn't you who cursed them. You didn't hex them. You didn't go after them. You didn't have to. The downfall they're experiencing, that's their own reflection catching up with them. You simply existed, and in doing so, you held up a mirror so brutally clear they couldn't look at you without seeing the parts of themselves they've spent years hiding. Your honesty didn't expose them. It activated their own self-destruction. That's why they're angry. Not because you did something to them, but because you did nothing, and it still unraveled everything. 10. Your spirit ran surveillance. Without cameras, without wires, without effort. They believed that to catch them, you'd need proof. Photos, texts, witnesses, physical evidence. But you were operating on a whole different level. Your spirit ran surveillance no one else could access. No cameras, no wires, no digital trail, just pure, untouchable intuition that recorded everything in real time. Every lie, every betrayal, every sideways glance was logged deep inside you like time-stamped footage no one could erase. This sacred recording system wasn't something you turned on or off. It was always running, quietly watching, understanding, remembering. Even when your face showed calm, your spirit was wide awake, collecting data, piecing together the puzzle of who they really were and what they were capable of. If this message resonated with you and opened new doors in your understanding, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button to stay connected to more truths that cut deeper than surface-level noise. Like this video if it shook your perspective. Comment below with your own experiences or insights. Your voice matters here. And share it with those who need to hear this now. Because sometimes the right words at the right time can change everything. Together, we're building a community where truth isn't hidden and power is reclaimed. So join us, stay woke, and let's keep this movement alive. God bless.